crazy happens and someone's like, it's okay, I've seen way worse. Everything I saw you do today is gonna be my way worse.
It's my least favorite part of the job.
Renfield, the new Nicolas Cage movie where he plays Dracula, of all things. Now, you all know that I'm not a particular fan of vampires, especially in movies. If you haven't seen my previous vampire reviews like Jacob's Wife, I just don't find them very scary or that interesting unless you do something unique with them, like the Strand show did where they were parasites or whatever. And this movie, while a horror action comedy, isn't really all that interesting vampire-wise. Actually, I have a lot of issues with this film. This film follows Dracula's servant Renfield from the Bram Stoker's 1931 classic Dracula in modern-day New Orleans, who, upon joining a self-help group for people in abusive relationships, decides to stand up for himself and help an up-and-coming police officer take down a local gang while trying to get away from Dracula. The entire film is staged narratively awkward, with Renfield talking directly to the audience. It does tie in at the end of the film, but overall it just feels very bizarre and unconnected. I'll go over my gripes a bit later into the review, but I want to talk about what makes this film good first. The fight scenes and the gore are what immediately draws my attention, most being practically done, including beheadings, dismemberment, even a face rip, and all of it looks good. This movie does take a stylistic approach to the gore, however, with most of the blood being like an orangish tomato sauce looking color. It's supposed to be emulating a cartoon, which I think works with the goofy action, like ripping a guy's arms off and beating other people to death with them. Come on, that's hilarious. That's a cartoon. I can take that kind of stylistic approach. I think that's fine. I don't think that's an issue. Some jokes land really well, and my theater was pretty lively for most of them. I actually had an advanced screening thanks to Fudge, but other jokes are kind of groan-inducing. There's no real consistency in the humor, sadly enough, which is odd when you have funny actors like Ben Schwartz trying to act like a whiny gangster rich boy. He's a very funny dude, but his jokes are extremely hit or miss in this movie. The standout funny man in this is, of course, Nick Cage as Dracula. He's funny, as weird as you would want a Nick Cage vampire to be, and literally eats up the scenes he's in, especially the one scene in Renfield's apartment with Drac sipping an eyeball martini. Oh my god, that was hilarious. His facial expressions were just so funny there too. Unfortunately, not even that is perfect, as the practical teeth Cage has to wear give him a weird muttering sound when he speaks, like he's talking with his mouth full, which, I mean, he is, but still. Other co-stars like Awkwafina as the police officer Rebecca feel underutilized, and the running jokes she has seems rather forced. That's a shame, because she's a great actress when given good material. It's just annoying. She has so much better work that she could be doing, and this just doesn't fit very well. Just a shame. I hate to see it. The worst actor, though, is sadly Nicholas Hoult as Renfield, the titular character. I'm not saying it's his fault either. He's a great actor. It's just the material he's given doesn't really give him a lot to work with, sadly. The movie really tries to get his character to be bumbling but likable dude who does bad things, but it's just so gosh darn sincere and sad that you have to feel for him, and it doesn't work for me at all. I am so tired of that trope, and it is overused way too much here. You can only do so much, oh, I'm just a sad, pathetic, bumbling British man, but then I eat a bug and suddenly I'm ripping people's arms off and I'm totally cool with it. Or, oh, I gotta wince when, Dracula kills someone, even though I've seen this for literally centuries. It just, no, I'm tired of it. Ugh, I feel like I'm not taking my own advice here. This is a very dumb story that shouldn't be taken seriously, that runs along at a breakneck pace because it's trying to emulate a live-action cartoon. And I just don't like that here. I'm not saying that setup can't work. It absolutely can. There are other movies that try to be cartoons that work really well, like Sonic 2. But in this instance, it just falls flat. It doesn't work at all. The film is at its best when it's making calls callbacks to older films, like with the black and white bit at the beginning, calling back to the original Bela Lugosi Dracula film from 1931, even utilizing that film's hypnotism with the lighting focusing on Dracula's eyes. Dracula's iconic amulet pendant thing is there too, so I mean, the details and references are there, just everything else around this is a mess. The pacing jumps around way too fast, the character motivations and decisions are over the top in all the wrong ways. Dracula and Renfield both make weird decisions that don't make sense and are just plain stupid. The idea that Renfield has to eat bugs, just any bug whatsoever, to get vampire powers is bizarre. Just say it's only bugs that Dracula produces. Easy fix. They have so many funny people in this, and Nicholas Hoult was funny in the menu. Why isn't this film funnier? I think it's trying just a bit too hard and trying to force jokes into these funny people's mouths. It's not letting these people be funny naturally, aside from Nick Cage, who just, like I said, is having a ball. The sets are there, the practical effects and makeup are all there, the fights and the gore, while stylized, are still there and look great. This should work. Everything on paper says this should work. It's a funny idea, the money's there, the practical effects and sets are all there. I'm probably showing B-roll footage right now and it looks so cool, but it just doesn't work. And I think that this doesn't because the story isn't there. Overall, the story is way too simple and somehow gets complex in all the wrong ways. It isn't that interesting, and it gets too muddled and too complex with too many other characters way too quickly. This should have stayed something along the lines of Dracula's assistant tries to get out of being his assistant. Instead of throwing in revenge and murder plots and gang wars, it's too much and too ridiculous. If I were to fix this movie, I would have to rewrite it heavily and leave room for the characters to improvise here or there. This feels like it should be a very heavily improvised film, especially when you have two funny people in a room talking to each other. That happens so often. Two funny people staring at each other and talking, and it doesn't feel improvised. It doesn't feel funny. It feels like they're trying to ram down callback jokes or running gags, and it doesn't work here. There's even like this one thing where they try to be funny where a random woman goes, "You're a bad man, Mr. Renfield," and he just goes, "I know." That's not funny. How is that funny? You could have so many other lines there that would work, and it just doesn't here. God, I'm so frustrated. Otherwise, I'd probably erase the gang stuff, find something else for the characters to do, and lean harder on the humor. The gang stuff ultimately is just stupid and an excuse to have more people show up and get, killed in dumb ways that are fun to have these extensive fight sequences. But otherwise, they don't really add to the plot or do really anything. It's really, really stupid, and it leads into a huge plot hole at the end of the film, too. Just, oh my god, the whole ending. Deus Ex Machina out the door to just wrap everything up and make everything just fine, and it's weird. I don't like it. I hate it. There just isn't enough in this movie, or everything is relegated to just relationship group scenes, or whenever Nick Cage is on screen. He absolutely needed more screen time anyway. Absolutely. He loved clearly being this character and doing all the silly things in front of the camera, but he's just not there nearly as much as he could have been. This should have been a Nick Cage movie first, Nicholas Hoult movie second, and it is not that. I'll give kudos to putting Nick Cage in a side character role. Well, I say side character, but second character, but they needed way more scenes interacting with each other, and you just do not get that here. It's difficult to really recommend this movie, honestly. I say go in expecting cartoon logic and a nonsense story, and I guess you'll enjoy it enough. It just really did not work for me, which is a huge shame. Ultimately, Renfield gets a 5.5 out of 10 from me. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around for another one. Oh my god, I am so disappointed in this movie. This had so much marketing, so many ads everywhere. It was sponsoring things, and oh, Jesus. That was bad. I've never been that disappointed in a movie in a while, so that's probably why the score is so low. I'm hoping to have a better movie this week, because I'm going to go see Evil Dead Rise. I love Evil Dead. I'm really excited for that one. Hopefully there's even more gore than what we had here, which I don't know. I feel like this is a very light R rating for Renfield. Probably could have been a PG-13 and I wouldn't have missed anything besides, you know, the beheadings and the gore definitely helps with the movie, but I don't know. I feel like it was trying way too hard to be funny, and when you force humor, it doesn't work. You cannot force humor. You just can't. People realize that it's being forced and it just gets shut down immediately. So I think that's the lesson here. Let funny people be funny. Don't try to force material down their throat. What did you guys think? Did you actually see this movie? Did you think it was funny? Did you think the premise was good? What would you change? There's a lot here that I feel could be built upon because, again, very good premise to start with. Just sucks in the execution. So, I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. Once you're done, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss a video. Really helps me grow too. And that's it. Have a great day, and if you're not, have a better one. See you next week.
I'm just a ghost in your stereo. The fading memory of a shipwreck in the undertow. You're just a lost soul. You're not just a